What if the silence you've been living through isn't a delay? What if July 3rd to July 5th is the exact moment the universe quietly begins shifting your destiny? Scorpio, the biggest blessings rarely arrive with noise. They arrive through signs that only the awakened can recognize. And today, we're revealing 6 quiet signs that the universe is secretly moving you forward. Don't skip this video, because sign number 6 may explain why everything in your life suddenly feels different. Welcome back. If you're a Scorpio, or you simply feel connected to Scorpio energy, this message found you for a reason. Between July 3rd and July 5th, powerful emotional and spiritual shifts are unfolding. The universe isn't asking you to force anything. It's asking you to notice what has already begun changing. Let's uncover the 6 quiet signs that your next chapter is already unfolding. 1. You feel calmer, even when nothing has changed. Scorpio, have you noticed something strange lately? The problems haven't completely disappeared. Some questions still don't have answers. Your future may still look uncertain, and yet, deep inside, there's a calmness that wasn't there before. That feeling isn't random. It's your first sign, because when the universe prepares to move a Scorpio forward, it doesn't always change their circumstances first. It changes their energy. Most people believe peace comes after life gets better. But spiritual growth works the opposite way. First, your soul becomes peaceful. Then, your outer world begins catching up. Think about it. A few weeks ago, the smallest setback could have ruined your entire day. One unanswered text, one delay, one disappointment, and your emotions would spiral. But now, something feels different. You're reacting less. You're worrying less. You're no longer chasing every answer. Instead, you're observing, you're breathing, you're trusting. That quiet shift is far more powerful than you realize. Because the universe cannot place new blessings into hands that are tightly gripping old fears. And Scorpio, you've slowly started letting go. Not because you gave up, but because your soul has finally realized that what's meant for you doesn't require panic. It requires alignment. This is one of Scorpio's greatest hidden strengths. You transform from the inside out. Like the phoenix, your rebirth is never loud. It happens in silence. While everyone else thinks nothing is happening, your spirit is rebuilding itself. And that's exactly what's taking place between July 3rd and July 5th. These days carry an energy that encourages emotional balance. Old emotional storms begin losing their power. Not because life suddenly became easy, but because you've become stronger. The universe has been teaching you something important. Control is an illusion. Trust is power. And once a Scorpio truly learns that lesson, doors begin opening that force could never unlock. Maybe you've recently stopped arguing with people who refuse to understand you. Maybe you've stopped trying to prove your worth. Maybe you've finally accepted that not everyone is meant to stay. If that's happening, don't mistake it for emotional distance. It's emotional maturity. Your energy is becoming more selective. You're no longer available for unnecessary chaos. And that's exactly why better opportunities can now recognize you. Because abundance doesn't chase desperation. It flows toward peace. The universe knows that you've carried enough emotional weight, enough disappointments, enough silent battles that nobody else ever saw. Now, it's preparing you for something lighter, something healthier, something that matches the person you've become. Here's something many people never realize. The greatest miracle isn't always receiving something new. Sometimes the miracle is no longer needing what once controlled you. That freedom is priceless. So if you've been feeling unusually calm lately, don't ignore it. Don't question it. Don't think you've become emotionally numb. You've become emotionally wise. there's a huge difference, because wisdom whispers, while fear screams. And right now, the whispers of your intuition are becoming louder than the noise of your worries. That's how the universe speaks, not through fear, but through peace. So before we move to the second sign, pause for a moment and ask yourself one question. What if this calmness isn't emptiness? What if it's actually the beginning of your breakthrough? Because Scorpio, the quietest moments often come right before life changes forever. 2. Unexpected distance is actually divine protection. Scorpio, have you noticed that certain people have slowly started disappearing from your life? Maybe the conversations aren't what they used to be. The invitations have become fewer. Someone who once checked on you every day now barely reaches out. At first, it may have felt painful. You questioned yourself. You wondered if you had done something wrong. You replayed old conversations, looking for answers. But what if none of this happened by accident? What if the distance you've been feeling isn't rejection, but protection? Because one of the quietest ways the universe moves a Scorpio forward is by clearing the path before revealing the destination. The truth is, every new chapter requires new energy, and not everyone is meant to walk beside you into the life you're about to create. That's one of the hardest lessons for Scorpio. You're deeply loyal. When you love completely. When you trust with your whole heart. So when people pull away, it can feel like losing a part of yourself. But the universe sees what you cannot. It sees every hidden intention, every silent competition, every relationship that has quietly drained your spirit, every connection that kept you tied to an older version of yourself. Sometimes the people leaving your life aren't being taken away to punish you. They're being removed because they no longer belong where you're going. Think about a rocket. Before it reaches space, it releases heavy boosters, not because those boosters failed, but because they've already served their purpose. If the rocket refused to let go, it would never reach its destination. Scorpio, your soul works the same way. You cannot rise while carrying relationships, habits, or fears that belong to your past. Between July 3rd and July 5th, the energy around you encourages emotional clearing. You may suddenly realize, that you're no longer chasing people who make you question your worth. You're no longer begging for attention, respect, or understanding. And strangely, that no longer hurts the way it once did. That's not because your heart has become cold. It's because your spirit has become stronger. There's a quiet confidence growing inside you. A confidence that says, if someone is meant to be in my life, they won't require me to abandon myself. That realization changes everything. Because from this point forward, you stop forcing connections and start attracting them. Notice something else. As certain doors quietly close, new opportunities often appear from completely unexpected places. A random conversation, an unexpected message, a new idea, a chance encounter, a career opportunity, or someone who brings peace instead of confusion. This is how the universe works. It rarely leaves empty space for long. It removes so it can replace. But replacement only happens when you're willing to release what no longer fits. Scorpio, don't mistake loneliness for abandonment. Sometimes solitude is the universe's way of helping you hear your own intuition again. Because when life becomes quieter, your inner voice becomes louder, and your intuition has been trying to guide you for a very long time. Maybe that's why you've recently felt drawn to spend more time alone, to reflect, to journal, to pray, to walk in silence, to simply breathe, without constantly seeking distractions. Those moments aren't signs that you're falling behind. They're sacred preparation. The universe isn't isolating you. It's recalibrating you. It's reminding you that your value has never depended on who stayed or who left. Your value comes from who you are when no one is watching. So if someone has recently walked away, or if certain relationships suddenly feel distant, don't rush to fill the silence. Don't chase every closed door. Some doors are locked because your blessings are waiting behind different ones. And one day, you'll look back and realize that the greatest protection often arrived wearing the disguise of goodbye. Because Scorpio, every ending that honors your soul is secretly a beginning. 3. Your intuition is becoming impossible to ignore, Scorpio. Have your dreams felt unusually vivid lately? Have you thought about someone only for them to suddenly text you? Have you walked into a room and instantly felt whether you could trust someone without a single word being spoken? If you've been experiencing moments like these, don't dismiss them as coincidence, because between July 3rd and July 5th, your intuition may become sharper than usual. And for Scorpio, intuition has always been your greatest hidden gift. Long before your mind understands something, your soul already knows. The challenge is that many Scorpios spend years doubting that inner voice. You ask for proof, you wait for certainty, you convince yourself that you're overthinking, but deep down, you already know the truth. The universe has been speaking to you for a long time, not through loud announcements, not through flashing signs in the sky, but through quiet nudges. A feeling you couldn't explain, a sudden urge to change direction, a strange sense that something wasn't right, or an overwhelming peace that told you, keep going. Those whispers are becoming louder now, and the reason is simple. Your mind is finally becoming quiet enough to hear them. For months, perhaps even years, your thoughts were crowded. You were carrying stress, expectations, old disappointments, and unanswered questions. That mental noise made it difficult to recognize the voice of your own intuition, but something is changing. You're beginning to notice patterns that you once overlooked. You meet someone and immediately sense whether they're genuine. You receive an opportunity, and somehow you already know whether it aligns with your future. You find yourself saying, I had a feeling this would happen. More often than ever before. That's not luck, that's alignment. Scorpio, your intuition isn't magic, it's wisdom that speaks before logic catches up. And during this powerful window, the universe is encouraging you to trust it. Maybe you've been seeing repeating numbers, 1111, 222, 444, or perhaps the same message keeps appearing through different people, different conversations, or even different books. You hear the same advice 3 different times from 3 different places. That isn't something to fear. It's something to notice. Sometimes the universe repeats itself because we're too distracted to listen the first time. Here's another quiet sign. You may suddenly lose interest in things that once excited you. At first, that can feel confusing. You wonder, why doesn't this make me happy anymore? The answer is that your soul is outgrowing old desires. When you're preparing for a new chapter, your spirit naturally releases what no longer feeds it. It's uncomfortable, but it's necessary. Growth always creates space before it creates fulfillment. Scorpio, don't be surprised if you also feel drawn towards silence. You may enjoy early mornings, late night reflection, nature, music without lyrics, or moments where you're completely alone with your thoughts. Those aren't random preferences, they're invitations, because clarity rarely arrives. When life is loud, it arrives. When you're finally still enough to receive it. And here's the most powerful part. The intuition you're feeling now isn't only helping you avoid the wrong path, it's guiding you toward the right one, toward the conversation that changes everything, toward the opportunity you almost overlooked. Toward the person who enters your life at exactly the right moment. Toward the version of yourself that no longer settles for less than you deserve. So if your instincts have been stronger lately, don't silence them just because they don't make logical sense yet. Sometimes your heart recognizes what your eyes haven't seen. Sometimes your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten. And sometimes the greatest act of faith is simply trusting that quiet voice within. Because Scorpio, the universe rarely shouts, it whispers, and those who learn to hear those whispers often arrive exactly where they're meant to be. 4. The delays you're experiencing are actually redirection. Scorpio, be honest with yourself. Has it felt like nothing has been moving as quickly as you hoped? Plans have been postponed. Replies have taken longer. Opportunities seemed close, only to suddenly disappear. For a while, it may have felt like the universe was saying, no. But what if it was never saying, no? What if it was simply saying, not this way? Because one of the quietest signs that the universe is moving a Scorpio forward is when it begins redirecting your path. And redirection often looks exactly like delay. Think back to a moment in your life when something didn't work out. A job you didn't get. A relationship that ended. A plan that completely fell apart. At the time, it probably felt like failure. You questioned everything. You wondered why life was working against you. But months later, or even years later, you realize something incredible. If that door had opened, you never would have found the better one waiting ahead. That's the wisdom of the universe. It sees what you can't. Scorpio, you're naturally determined. Once your heart is set on something, you fight for it. You push harder. You refuse to give up. And while that strength is one of your greatest gifts, sometimes it also makes letting go feel impossible. But here's the truth. Not every closed door is meant to be forced open. Some doors close because they're protecting your future. Imagine boarding a train only to discover it was headed to the wrong destination. Missing that train wouldn't be bad luck. It would be protection. The same is true for the delays you're experiencing now. The opportunity that disappeared may have saved you from unnecessary stress. The relationship that ended may have prevented years of emotional pain. The plan that collapsed may have created space for something far greater. The problem is, we usually understand the purpose of a delay only after we've already passed through it. That's why trust is so important. Between July 3rd and July 5th, Scorpio energy is being asked to surrender control. Not because you don't care about your dreams, but because your dreams may be arriving through a path you never expected. Have you noticed that whenever you stop forcing something, it suddenly begins flowing? That's not coincidence, that's alignment. The universe moves fastest when you're no longer fighting against its timing. This doesn't mean sit back and do nothing. It means take inspired action without attaching yourself to only one outcome. Because sometimes the blessing you keep asking for is waiting, just one step beyond the plan you refuse to release. Scorpio, there's another reason. Delays can feel so uncomfortable. They expose our deepest fears. The fear of being left behind. The fear of missing out. The fear that life is happening for everyone else except us. But look around. Everyone has their own timeline. Some people bloom early, others bloom later. Neither journey is better. A flower doesn't compare itself to the stars. A river doesn't rush to become the ocean. Everything in nature moves at the perfect pace, and you are no different. Your journey has never been late. It's been preparing you. Every setback has strengthened your character. Every disappointment has sharpened your wisdom. Every delay has been quietly building the version of you that can actually handle the blessings you're about to receive. Because receiving is just as important as achieving. If success had arrived before you were emotionally ready, it might have become another burden instead of a blessing. Now, you're different. You're wiser, more patient, more grounded. You're no longer asking, "Why is this happening to me?" You're beginning to ask, "What is this teaching me?" And that single question changes everything, because the moment you stop seeing delays as punishment, you begin recognizing them as preparation. So Scorpio, if life has recently slowed down, don't mistake stillness for stagnation. Roots grow long before branches reach toward the sky. The strongest trees spend years developing what nobody can see. Your life is doing the same. Something powerful is taking shape beneath the surface, and very soon, what has been invisible will become impossible to ignore. 5. The same opportunity keeps finding you, Scorpio. Have you noticed? The same idea, the same dream, or even the same opportunity keeps returning to your life. You try to ignore it. You tell yourself, it's not the right time. Yet somehow, it finds you again. Through a conversation, a video, a random message, or a feeling you can't explain. This isn't coincidence, it's guidance. The universe doesn't always send new signs. Sometimes it repeats the same one until you're ready to act. Between July 3rd and July 5th, pay attention to what keeps showing up. It may be the career you've been avoiding, the creative project you've postponed, the move you've been considering, or the relationship your heart keeps leading you toward. Scorpio, fear often disguises itself as waiting for the perfect moment. But perfection rarely arrives. Courage does. The universe isn't asking you to know every step. It's asking you to take the first one. Because once you move, life begins moving with you. The opportunity that keeps returning isn't chasing you by accident. It's waiting for your decision. Sometimes, one brave choice is all it takes to change everything. 6. You're becoming the person your blessings have been waiting for, Scorpio. Here's the greatest secret. The universe isn't only preparing your blessings, it's preparing you. Maybe you've become more patient, more peaceful, more confident. You're no longer seeking approval from everyone around you. You're trusting yourself more than ever before. That transformation is the biggest sign that you're moving forward, because the life you desire requires a version of you who believes they're worthy of receiving it. Between July 3rd and July 5th, don't focus only on what's changing around you. Notice what's changing within you. Your mindset, your habits, your boundaries, your self-respect. These quiet improvements are creating space for extraordinary opportunities. Scorpio, the next chapter of your life won't be built by the person you used to be. It will be created by the person you're becoming today. Trust the process, trust your intuition, and most importantly, trust yourself, because your breakthrough is no longer approaching. It's already beginning, Scorpio. If these 6 signs resonated with you, take them as a reminder that the universe is always working, even when you can't see it. Keep trusting your path, keep protecting your peace, and never underestimate the quiet moments, because that's often where the biggest miracles begin. If this message spoke to your heart, please like this video, subscribe for more spiritual guidance, and share it with another Scorpio who may need this reminder today. And tell us in the comments which sign felt like it was describing your life right now. Until next time, trust the timing and keep moving forward.